11. Dr. Pangestu is a prominent advocate of trade and economic reform. As trade minister, she was a strong proponent of deepening bilateral trade and investment between Australia and Indonesia. Her bachelor and master's of economics in 1981. She went on to receive her PhD in economics from the University of California in 1986.
Congratulations, Dr. Pangestu.
Moriarty and Madam Vice Minister Ali Formuti, Vice Minister Hermanto Dadak, who's also the head of the Australian Alumni Association here in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, it's a special honor for me to receive this award as a distinguished alumni from Australia. I feel especially privileged because I feel that I have really gotten a lot from Australia, that I really have benefited a lot from being educated in Australia and living in Australia. Perhaps I'm a little bit different from many of you, that I did not only just go to university in Australia, but I actually also spent some of my childhood, my primary education and my secondary education in Australia. So even though I was born in Indonesia, I also felt that I grew up in Australia, and it's kind of in a literal sense. I like to tell this story that when I first came to Australia, when my father was appointed at the ANU as a researcher, I came along as a 9-year-old child. I was pretty scrawny, and I was very lucky that on day one I was told at school that you have to drink milk. It's the 1/3 a pint a day milk program, and I think I was a great beneficiary of that, and I think it explains my good health and my height. I stopped growing at some point, but I think I felt very fortunate that I got this good start in life by this program. Unfortunately, I stopped growing physically at some point, so my ambition to become a model ended there. But I felt that I grew in many, many other ways, living and being educated in Australia. When I was in high school, I actually worked as a Coles checkout girl. I still even remember my wage. It was like $4 an hour. And that's part of, I think, what living and learning to live in Australia and becoming independent and so on. I actually graduated from Canberra High School, of all places. And then I continued my bachelor and master's degree in Australia. So all in all, I lived 12 years of my life in Sydney and Canberra, and I think I'm doing pretty well with that benefit of having that 12 years of education and living in Australia. And in ANU, I felt that I had studied under the best researchers and thought leaders on the Asia-Pacific, ASEAN, and Indonesian issues. I was never privileged to have studied under Sir John Crawford, who is, I think, Australia's best-known visionary on the Asia-Pacific region. But all my professors were his disciples, such as Ross Garner, Peter Drysdale, Chris Finlay, and so on. And of course, we know there's a very strong group of Indonesianists at the ANU, such as the Venerable Professor Heinz Arndt, David Penny, Hal Hill, Chris Manning, and Ross McLeod, whose wife is, I think, your Indonesian teacher, Professor Ambassador. I'll report to her that you did very well tonight. and this network, I think, the Wali Kota from Banda Aceh said the importance of network, and I really believe that not only am I a good example of how the good education we get in Australia really is contributing to our capacity here in Indonesia, but the network that we get from the professors that we have in Australia, as well as the alumni, actually, has really helped me when I was a researcher at the CSIS, and when I became minister. I really continued to count on my professors, actually, and they're always the first people I call. Hey, what do you think about this particular idea? And so on. And they provided a lot of input, they provided a lot of advice through my 7 years as a minister. And we even had debates actually about the value of an Indonesian Australia SIPA. And in the end, I think I won the argument, and basically we concluded that economists have this thing about bilateral versus multilateral. I won't go into that, but basically, I think Ross Garner was actually one of the strongest who didn't really felt it was a good idea. But he said, okay, if you're going to do it, let's make it the best design bilateral SIPA ever. So I think that kind of attitude really helped to give input. And of course, when I first became minister, the first people I called is the AUS8 people to come and help give capacity building to the ministry. And I do recall my first meeting with Ambassador Bill Taylor at the time. He came to my office coming to pay a courtesy call. And the first thing I said to him was, Bill, you've got to give me 10 scholarships a year for my people. And I'm very proud to say that we have, I think, at least around 30 or 40 recipients of the Australian scholarships to AUS8 in the Ministry of Trade. And in this new ministry, I hope that I think Ambassador was anticipating that I'm going to raise this. So he whispered to me that, oh, you know, for your new ministry, we're going to make sure you're going to get scholarships to get into my Because I really, really, really believe that is the strongest contribution of Australia to Indonesia. It's the scholarships, it's the network that we build, and that is the strongest foundation of a bilateral relationship. The people to people relationship, and the fact that many of us studied and learned a lot from being in Australia, that helped us to also grow, have the capacity to succeed in what we do. And we also continue to call on our Australian friends and the alumni network here that we see tonight. So finally, I think getting an Australian education and having lifelong working relations and friendships have been a very important part of the formation of my physical as well as intellectual being. And for that, I will be always grateful, and I feel especially honored to be given this award tonight. Thank you very much.